Stand Tall with Dave Brown, and down here in Salem, Oregon, at the Republican offices for the state of Oregon with Angela Plowhead. Angela, thanks for being on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dave.
What do you do? What's your title?
I am the vice chair of the Oregon Republican Party, so for the state party.
Okay, that sounds really pretty important, the vice chair of the whole party. I think a lot of our listeners don't know really how this all works. Give us a few insights.
So in Oregon, we have what are called non-affiliated voters, and we have the two parties, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party. And because we have motor voter laws here, which means that everyone gets registered to vote as soon as they get any sort of ID or driver's license.
Okay.
So if you don't select a party, they will automatically make you a non-affiliated voter, which means that our largest voting bloc is non-affiliated voters here in Oregon.
So they're not Republicans, not Democrats.
That's right.
Okay.
We also have independents, which is a separate party.
Okay.
A lot of people don't understand that piece.
How does that work with people? I mean, so if you just go on DMV, you're not a U.S. citizen, but you can still vote?
If you get a driver's license, essentially.
But I mean, you're not a U.S. citizen,
Mm-hmm.
and you can vote. Are we the same way in Oregon as every other state in the union on that?
No, most states do not have motor voter laws, so most people have to actually register to vote.
So I don't understand though, but in Oregon, somebody said, we're just gonna give you a license, but you can vote. I mean, that just seems odd to me.
It is.
Okay.
And you should, according to our laws, you should be a citizen to vote and take part in our political process.
How long have we had that in place?
Motor voter came in, don't ask me that, I don't know.
Has it been a decade or longer?
I no, honestly, I don't. I think it's been here as long as I've been here.
Wow. It just seems strange to me. But boy, it's a crazy world we live in, now. But, for everybody out there with Stand Tall, what we really want to try to do, Angela has been involved. She's run for a race. Can you explain what you tried to run for?
Yeah, so I ran for Congress.
Okay.
And so the reason I did that was because I was seeing what was happening in our nation. I have a lot of experience at the federal level through my work as an intelligence analyst in the Air Force. And then I worked in VA for quite a long time. And so a lot of my experiences were at the federal level, not necessarily at the state level. And so that was sort of my first foray into politics. And after that, I knew I couldn't step aside and just continue to let things go on the way they had been. So,
and that's a key question I had for you today.
Yeah.
Was why do some people feel the need to jump in and get in the game when so many can't even say anything because they fear for being canceled? You've obviously had an extensive background, a lot of education. You have your own business. Why you? Why did you do it?
I did it because I didn't want to leave a legacy of communism, which was what I saw as an intelligence analyst in the Air Force. I saw what happened to nations that had a totalitarian government, that had communistic governments, and what it did to the people. And I didn't want to leave that for my children. That is the worst legacy that I think we could leave here in America when we've all grown up with knowing the freedoms of democracy.
So when you decided to jump in the game down here, you didn't win that race.
I did not.
But, and I know what that's like to win and to lose.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really proud of you for jumping in the game. We've known each other for several years. And all I've seen out of you is somebody who shows up at the events with a big smile.
Mm-hmm.
But you're highly intelligent. I mean, I picked up on it the first time I met you. I introduced you to my son about 2 years ago. We had lunch down here in Salem. And when we walked away from you, my son goes, wow, she is really smart. How do you feel like you're doing now, being the vice chair and making a difference today?
So when I decided to run to be the vice chair, I did that because what I saw in our party was that we did not have a systemic way of working together to get things done.
Okay.
And I am all about that. I'm all about organization and efficiency and making sure that we have systems in place that are working and they're working well and we're getting things done. If we're not getting it done, then we're not doing our job.
Right.
So if any of us are going to win here in this state, we have to bring more balance back to our government, and we can't do that if it is one party run. And so in order to bring that balance, we have to get more Republicans elected. And when I got elected to this position, there was about 45 days left in the general election for 2022. So it hit the ground running. We did have some gains. We had 5 county seats that were turned from blue to red. We had gains in our House. We had gains in our Senate. And so what we did that year was we knocked out the supermajority for
to tell people it's a supermajority.
Yeah, well, so we had so many Democrats that were in the legislature that they could push through any bill they wanted without any resistance,
Okay.
which meant they could also pass taxes without having any Republican support at all. So what having lost that supermajority means is that they have to have Republican support to pass any taxes.
Do you feel like, I mean, you know, I've met your husband, you've met my wife. When we're at home, Judy and I are talking, you know, there's that balance of a conversation, like, you know, we're going to paint the house right now. Judy wanted beige, and I wanted white. We have to have this discussion over a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's a tough discussion. But, you know, you have to have those conversations, and when they're really out of balance, like, well, I get to make all the choices, or Judy does, and somebody's going to be unhappy.
That's right.
So how do you feel that balance word works that people would understand for our state government?
Yeah. So how the balance has been working is that there hasn't been any balance.
Okay.
And we've seen things go through like Measure 110, which resulted in a lot of crime, a lot of drug addiction, a lot of mental illness. There has been an unprecedented amount of homelessness here in our state. We have a lot of things being pushed through our education department, where we have kids that are committing suicide at just tremendous rates. We have more anxiety, more depression in our children. We have one of the worst education systems in the U.S. There was just a report that came out recently that talked about how other states have actually rebounded from the losses, the educational losses that happened during the COVID shutdowns. But we haven't. And so we're one of the very few states that haven't.
Right.
And part of that is because of all of the laws that have been passed here surrounding education that have kept our kids from actually having a focus on excellence in education, where they're focused on all kinds of other things that have nothing to do with reading, writing, and arithmetic.
On that right there, I mean, I've come from education, you know, 20 years, my wife 34, school board, you know, seeing it from the inside out. How, not all these Democrats are like, how do they all just not see like 110 was a failure? How do they just look at that and keep, well, that's a good idea. Why don't we sit back and go look at that again? Because the results have been obvious and they're not good. So are all of the Democrats just, are they peer pressured into passing all this? Or are some of them just like, no, this isn't good for Oregon?
There's a focus on the compassion aspect of it. And part of it is just a misplaced compassion.
Right.
Feeling that by criminalizing drugs, then you are marginalizing people. The piece that they're missing is that it's not compassionate to trap people in drug addiction. And what we have seen is that through some criminalization, they can use things like drug courts to get people the help that they need to get off of drugs and then become productive members of society again, and actually, get jobs that are helping others.
And we're going to take a break, come back to this one, but I'd just like to, say everybody, stand tall with DaveBrown.com. Go to the website. There's lots of things on there. There'll be multiple podcasts with Angela, and you can catch, anything about education, politics, Jesus, sports, and people stories. And so we try to have 5 big different categories, just so there's something for everybody out there. But we're going to continue on with the politics today.
Absolutely.
So we'll be right back.